Today, we will discuss the electronic payments process for NetSuite users. If you are generating electronic payments using NetSuite's native functionality, do you find yourself limited to domestic electronic payments? Do you have a need to initiate wires to international vendors as well? If you're still needing to generate paper checks for some of your vendors, wouldn't it be nice if your bank could manage that tedious and time-consuming task for you? Is your bill payment approval process or sending of vendor remittances a very manual process for your team today? If you found yourself answering yes to any of these questions, let me introduce Nolan's electronic payment suite app as a solution that will specifically address these challenges. My name is Carol Darcy. I'm a senior manager and solution specialist here at Nolan, and will be your presenter for the next 30 minutes or so. First, let's talk a little bit about Nolan Business Solutions and who we are as an organization. We've been a NetSuite solution provider since 2006, both as implementation consultant and Suite Cloud developer. Our recent 5-star partner award acknowledges our deep commitment to the NetSuite community and our ability to deliver creative solutions that enhances your NetSuite user experience. We have worldwide presence with a corporate office in the UK, North American office in Boulder, Colorado, and also remote presence in Australia and Canada. Our SuiteApp story started with the design and development of a fixed asset module that was later acquired by NetSuite. Although we cannot vouch for subsequent updates to this module, I like to point this out as to me, it speaks volume about the quality of our development and strict adherence to NetSuite development standards. We then went on to develop superior electronic payments and advanced bank reconciliation functionality. Our team of seasoned and certified NetSuite consultants also offers consulting services in multiple areas of expertise. More specifically today, let's talk about Nolan's electronic payment suite app. Built as a native suite app, Nolan's electronic payment enables electronic payment of vendors and employee expenses directly within NetSuite. Compared to payment solutions offered by some third-party vendors, using the Nolan built-in module allows you to remain in full control of your payment process inside of NetSuite, eliminating the need and risk associated with the data exchange between NetSuite and an external application. It also expedites the payment process for your vendors by eliminating the delay often associated with transmitting your payment data to a third-party vendor and then to your bank. Not only do we support various payment methods, including ACH, wires, checks, and virtual cards for domestic payments, but our team has developed an unmatched expertise with international payments. Those typically require an XML formatted file, which we can easily configure with our tool, and our team can help you navigate through the bank and country-specific requirements that typically comes with those international payments. Our solution also includes advanced features such as bank payment details, vendor bank details, and bill payment approval for additional controls around disbursements of funds and automated emailing of remittances to your vendors. At a high level, from a process standpoint, being embedded right inside the NetSuite application, we try to make it a very seamless process for the users. It all starts with capturing the vendor bank details on your vendor record, followed by entering your vendor bills just as you are entering them today. So if you have some vendor bill approval processes that needs to be followed, the Nolan module doesn't interfere with that. Once the vendor bills are entered and in a status of approved and open for payment is when the Nolan application can come in and help you generate the bill payments. The bill payments, once generated, are also included into a bank file generated to the file cabinet, which can then be transmitted to your bank via portal, followed by automated email remittances to your vendors. An additional module that we can introduce here, the current standard electronic payment process we just discussed would see you generate a bill payment inside of NetSuite along with a bank file to the file cabinet, so as one consolidated process. If there is a need for additional control, our bill payment approval module will introduce a step in between that will ensure that the generated bill payments go through an approval process internally before the resulting bank file can be generated. So in our product demonstration today, that is the process we're going to walk through. So let's transition to our NetSuite environment. And as mentioned, it all starts with the vendor card or the vendor record itself, hence why we're looking at a list of vendors here. What I want to demonstrate is the ability to support various payment methods, both domestically. So we're seeing a list of vendors that we pay domestically in the US. We can support ACH, commercial cards, wires, checks, as mentioned before. But we also most definitely have an expertise around international payments. So let me change our filtering option here and take a look at vendors that we want to pay on the using international formats. In particular, we're going to look at a SEPA format, which is a typical XML format required for payments throughout the European community. But we also have the ability to support a variety of international XML formats for numerous banks as well. But today we're going to work with our SEPA payments. We have a number of banks in Europe, vendors in Europe that we want to pay. And let's focus our attention on one of our Denmark vendors here. So I'm going to open up that record. So the main vendor record will remain as you currently have it in NetSuite. What you will notice with our application is once it is installed, it is a native SuiteApp, meaning that all the work is going to be completed inside of NetSuite. And you're going to have an additional center tab labeled electronic payments, as well as bill payment approvals. Setup, configuration, and processes are conducted out of that submenu. On the vendor record itself, a couple additional tabs are also incorporated. Bank, specifically a bank payment tab that is configured specific to your payment methods and bank definition requirements. So the one you're seeing on the screen currently is quite busy, being a demo and a testing environment that supports multiple banks, multiple payment methods. Yours can be as complex if you've got, a numerous payment methods to support, but it can also be relatively simple if we're looking at simply paying domestic payments or a very limited number of international payments. Essentially, we have a couple sections. Usually we got our activate electronic payment section is where we're going to activate a vendor to go through the Nolan process. Our tool will work very well in an environment where perhaps you're still printing checks in-house. And this is how you can easily segregate your population for check printing versus electronic payments. Bank payment definition is where we're going to specify how we want to pay this vendor if there are multiple options. We also have a vendor bank detail approval process that can be activated so that no funds are issued to a vendor until the bank details are approved by a separate individual. Multiple bank details are then captured, payment details, bank details. If we're talking about domestic payments, we're obviously going to have our good old routing number and account number section. If we're incorporating international payment capabilities is where, things perhaps like SWIFT and IBAN will come into play. And there's sometimes also a need for a specific section for NACHA payments if that's something that we need to support for your bank. So again, this is completely configurable and will be configured in such a way that it is easy for the user to enter the required data for our vendor, depending on how we're wanting to pay that vendor. Once vendor bank details are captured, we want to process payments for open and approved bills. So still looking at our vendor from Denmark, we got a couple open bills that we're gonna kind of see through the whole process. So these are open and approved bills. And as I mentioned before, whatever process you currently have to get to that bill status, there's no interference with that at all. So we're gonna have our two bills on here. We even have a bill credit that we'll be able to incorporate as part of our payment So let's just go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm going to go to my Pay Bills by EP window, where I typically will first, if you are in a one world environment, the first data field that would be displayed here would be the subsidiary. I'm not in a one world environment, hence missing that field. But if you are, you would first make a selection of which subsidiary you want to process funds for. Then within that subsidiary, which cash account we want to process those payments out of, because there could be multiple bank accounts you need to generate payments out of. And then for each of these accounts, we perhaps have various payment methods that we need to support. Sometimes the various payment methods are consolidated into one file. Sometimes, depending on the specific requirements associated with payment methods, this is where it might call out for separate file formats. So we're going to pay our SEPA vendors, hence the selection of my Euro account with my Euro file format. So what is presented to me now is all the vendor bills and bill credits open at that moment in time, because by default, we want to pay everybody that has bills due today. So this is where we can leverage our start and end date to segregate our bill list based on payment terms associated with the invoices. We have additional filtering capabilities around department, class, location, sometimes leveraging the AP account to also segregate our vendor population. So again, during the implementation, those are all criteria that our team looks at with you to help facilitate a very easy and automated process. As we select vendor bills and credits here, we're going to see our payment batch getting built in the middle, including we can specify the payment date that we want to generate those payments for. The amount in the account is going to keep incrementing as I individually select items, or perhaps mark all or unmark all. So we're going to pay everyone today that is due. So we're going to select all. You'll notice I'm going to sort by payee ID. We're going to see our vendor from Denmark that we're working with. That's got a couple open bills as well as their bill credit. So the net payment to our vendor is going to take into account that bill credit. And I also have partial payment capabilities. So perhaps I just want to pay half of this invoice for a number of reasons. So you always have the ability, by default, we assume you want to pay amount due, but you always have the ability to update that manually. Once our selection is completed, I can kind of review cash flow associated with that, so we can see how much funds we're paying out. And if I'm happy with that, I can go ahead and process payment. So now that our process is complete, we can see that we have 4 bill payments processed, and we're going to review what we've completed. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that I've got our bill payment approval module configured in here. So our bill payments, we can see the 4 of them that were completed today, including our vendor from Denmark. We're going to take a look at that bill payment in particular to highlight a few things for you. So we can see on the bill payment some basic elements that makes a reference to our electronic payment process, which file format was used, pay by EP, a payment reference, which will indicate all the invoices being paid, but also on the Apply tab, we can very easily visualize which specific bills were paid with this payment. Under the custom tab here, which again can be customized, the form can be customized, but I can incorporate a number of electronic payment information as well, including currency, payment priorities, etc. But more importantly, what I want everyone to focus their attention on right now is the approval status of pending approval. And once we complete the approval process, we're going to see this change to approved, and then who specifically approved that payment. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. So we're going to go to our bill payment approval module, approve our bills for our Euro account. So here are the 4 unapproved bill payments that were generated. So as the approver, I can view some basic information on here. If I need to get a little bit more information, I can easily drill back by clicking on the view. And then that will take me to the bill payment, where I will also see the associated bills that are being paid. we're just going to go ahead and mark all and approve these bill payments for payment. Once the bill payment are approved, typically it's back to our AP team to actually generate the bank instruction file. Before we proceed with that, I'm going to take a look at that bill payment that we were just looking at for our Denmark vendor. And under our custom tab, we can see how now that bill payment is in a status of approved and who specifically approved that payment. Now our approval routes are fairly flexible, can have multiple approvers depending on dollar amounts, multiple approvers at each amount stages as well. So typically we can accommodate most approval hierarchy that are required. So let's go ahead and generate our bank instruction file. We're going to go back to our bank account. If I pick the correct one. So here's our Euro bank account for which I have 4 bill payments approved and queued to be released. So we're going to go ahead and mark that and simply submit. Once our bank file is generated, I have the ability right from this screen to download the file right then and there and possibly upload it to our bank portal. Or that file is also, for audit trail purposes and security purposes, generated to our file cabinet. So if desired, this is how the file can also be accessed, or access can also be limited to the person that will be entitled to work with that bank file. So we can see our bank file here that can be downloaded. And just for visual purposes here, I will show you a simple XML file, which is very typical of international payments. So again, we have great expertise in configuring and ensuring that these XML files are built in a proper way so that those are very easily processed by your bank once received. Again, from the bank generation process, we can fire off email remittances from here. That process can also be fully automated with a configuration setting that allows you to initiate those emails at the same time as generating your bank file. So depending on what your preference is in terms of business processes, we've got some options there for you as well. But just so we see what that process might look like, we're going to go to our email remittance process, select the last payment batch, where I can see the 4 vendors that I can initiate email remittances for. We will pull the email address right from the vendor record. I can decide if someone is missing that I want to exclude them from that process. We're going to go ahead. Actually, I'm going to exclude everyone and just email our Denmark vendor for today. Once our process is complete, we can rest assured that our vendor received an email with their payment voucher. So we'll take a look here in my own mailbox to witness that. But also on the bill payment, what is important with our email remittance process is the fact that that communication is now tracked inside of NetSuite. So another advantage for using a native SuiteApp to process your electronic payment. So instead of having either your bank or a third-party vendor initiate those email remittances, you can do that all inside of NetSuite and actually track when that communication occurred. And should you be discussing that specific instance with your vendor, then you will have access, or you will see exactly what voucher they perhaps are also looking at. So back to my email here. In Outlook, we're going to go to our demo folder. Here's our payment voucher. So as a vendor, this is kind of what it would look like. So we'll receive my bill payment with a little generic message, and then the payment voucher actually attached, which will include all the information associated with the payment and the bills that were actually paid. So upon completing that process, basically I'm done with my payment batch for this week or today. And then tomorrow I can proceed with determining which other bills I want to pay. Now I do want to touch on uploading the bank file from the file cabinet because we do have a couple options here for you. Clients always have the ability to manually export the file, as I demonstrated during our presentation, and manually upload that file to their bank portal. Should you want to automate that process further and incorporate an automated file transmission process as part of your process here, that is absolutely doable with an integration partner. And the idea is that with the Nolan SuiteApp, we handle all of the electronic payment process inside of NetSuite that results into a file in the NetSuite file cabinet. You can leverage an integration partner. Some that come to mind would be Celigo, Delbumi. We also have a strategic partner, Tierra Consulting, that we work with that will help facilitate the file transmission between the NetSuite file cabinet and your bank's SFTP server. So that is also an option to help facilitate that transmission. So key takeaways that I'm hoping you got from today's session is that not only do you remain in full control of your payment process with the Nolan Electronic Payments Suite app, but you will be able to easily automate payments to international vendors. Advanced functionality and automated file transmission can truly turn a time-consuming process into a few simple steps for your team. And finally, but not least, you will experience the Nolan expertise with our team of seasoned consultants that will lead you through an effortless implementation project. For more information or to schedule a demo, please visit our website or reach out to our sales team using the contact details currently displayed on your screen.